had a freaking big wreck.
Yeah.
At Indy. What day was that? That was the Fast Friday before qualifying?
No,
Or
that
was
was Monday after qualifying.
Monday after qualifying. Run me through that.
So we get, and just to kind of backtrack a little bit, like Fast Friday, as I kind of said, you sort of slowly trim the car out to get into qualifying trim, and like qualifying at Indy is the scariest thing you've ever done in your life.
Explain to people why.
So when you're in race trim, you can run around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway more or less comfortably, flat out. But for qualifying, they add about 100 horsepower, or 75 or so, and we start trimming with just more boost, and we start trimming the downforce off because the wings on the car and the undertray are, pressing the car down.
Mm-hmm.
So in race trim, you might be running plus 1 degree on the rear wing and a 1/4 inch wicker or something like that, which is a little flap that kind of creates more downforce. When you qualify, your rear wing is up, so you're positive on the rear wing, as in it's like pulling the car off the ground,
an airplane,
like an airplane at this point.
Yeah.
And the thing is, net, you still have downforce because the undertray is like producing so much downforce, but you're just trying to free the car up, so you're tilting the wing up and trying to pull the car off the ground to get, A, just get drag out of it, and B, free it up mechanically. And it goes from being this kind of comfortable, like solid race car to just this knife edge, super on the limit. Like the car is so balanced in qualifying trim that literally if you could drive beside an Indy car at 230 miles an hour trimmed out for qualifying and press on the rear wing, you could spin it out just by pressing like that. Like your CG and your COP, it's all so close together.
Right.
That, because you have to do 4 laps.
Yep.
And to do that, you have to make the tires last, which means it needs to be pretty free. You can't just be barreling through the corners, scrubbing the fronts off.
Right.
And that's slow.
Right.
So it's going to be on edge. The car is going to feel light, and you're turning in flat out at 240 miles an hour going into turn 1 and turn 3. Your min corner speed is 220 miles an hour. You have to be looking at the windsock on every straightaway to see where the wind's at, because that affects like your turning point and whatnot. And then on top of that, what we've started doing is, and this isn't really, it was a secret, but now everyone's doing it. There's been racer articles about it. So with our weight jacker, which is a hydraulic ram that, can move cross weight left to right across the front axle, and it basically moves the spring perch on the inside left damper. What we've been doing is programming a fast setting on it so that you actually drop the rear end of the car as much as possible.
Okay.
To like get the rear wing out of the airflow. So you come
on
the straightaway. So you come at a turn 2, you gotta turn your dial on your weight jacker map setting, press the weight jacker down.
Yeah.
Change the engine switch to it, because you're changing the engine mapping based on the plenum temperature for each lap, kind of thing. So you're changing your engine switch, doing your weight jacker, getting the weight jacker back for the corner, making sure your bars are in the right place, looking at the windsock, making sure you drive the car right and don't miss your turn-in point. To do all this stuff on a race car that is not happy to be,
not stable,
not very stable. So that's why qualifying at Indy is so hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened with me? We got through qualifying. As a team, we kind of struggled overall. It was kind of a just, we were down a little bit, but we felt really good about our race car, and had been running great in traffic up until then. And in the practice session on Monday, everyone's doing pack running, working on race setup. And Grosjean, I'm behind Grosjean. He's his first time at Indy, obviously great Formula 1 driver, but
sure.
Still kind of learning the oval thing. And all month it was like, whenever I remember being around him, it's like it's one of those things where it's like you get a new guy on ovals that hasn't had a big wreck yet, so they're like, they're super free and they're just like being real aggressive. It's like it's gonna bite you, man. And he almost knocked the wall down in 4 and then backed out of it. I was like, okay, he's gonna let me by. And I went around the outside into 1, thinking
he'd lift,
and like at turn in, I was like pretty far along, and he stuffs it up the inside, and just like, and I just see him there, and my spotter calls inside. I'm like, oh no, this is not gonna.
And
be
you
good.
Needed to be on the bottom.
Yeah, because you can't run 2 lanes at Indy. Off the start and restart you can, but
sure,
when you're running around, you're not running the high line there. And it was kind of one of those moments where like someone puts you in a situation where you either try to put the squeeze on them and you both crash, or you try to make it stick on on a shitty line and
Yeah.
you crash, which is what happened to me. I got high and the rear end came around, and I just remember feeling it spin and be like, oh, here we go. Please don't go in backwards, and kept coming around and hit the outside safer barrier in turn one. And you watch the replay, it's like the safer barrier probably deflects like 2.5 feet, right?
It looked so fast.
Yeah,
on
it was
TV.
a huge, and like the replay looks fast, but like I remember in the moment, like it was like that. The car spun and crashed, but
Yeah.
like in the moment, it felt like it took 8 seconds to hit the wall.
One of those slow-mo, like so many times, like, you know, falling on anything. It's like you get this like frame by frame.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
And you're just like, how is this going to feel? Is this going to, you know, is it going to hurt? Whatever. And I remember just before hitting the wall, kind of like, being like, doing one of them. And, and you know, it actually didn't even knock the wind out of me. I was cussing Grosjean out on the radio before the car even stopped. So the team knew I was okay at least.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just, the car, so we have accelerometers in the race car and accelerometers in our earpieces for measured acceleration data for concussions and all that. And,
Yeah.
you know, they collect that data to then evaluate how effective their impact foam is in the seats and around the cockpit and their side impact structures. So the car registered 110 Gs, which is a humongous crash, right?
Obviously, yeah. Insane.
The earpieces only registered 38, which
Wow.
means that the head surround, that like it's a soft pad that's around your helmet, the seat, all of that did its job and actually absorbed so much of that impact.
So it wasn't even a big deal. No injuries.
No, I mean my left foot was pretty sore because I on the ovals I run a little dead pedal just to put my foot up against.
Yep.
Because you're not using the brake that much, and your foot, you know, like if you're pulling it back off the brake, and
You get
up.
sore as shit. Yeah.
So yeah, having a little brace is nice, but my foot smoked that, and it was all like black and blue for a little while. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez. So the team decided to fix the car.
Yep.
And how was it going back out for the next session? Like unfazed, or like, man, my life just flashed before my eyes?
You know, I was super confident after the crash. Like,
Okay.
I think I was just kind of pissed, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know, and to be fair, like I was the passing car, so like I bear some responsibility for that. But like,
Dude, my John, my crew chief, tells me all the time. He goes, "Yeah, you're 50% responsible for being out there." So,
and you know, so like but like there was still part of me that was like, this is not going to be how our month is defined. Like I'm going to come back and, you know, race and we're because we had a really good month up until that point.
right.
But, you know, then I get back in the car and it's like, okay, you know, the first couple laps it was a bit tough. Not, you know, just to like gain that 100% confidence back.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is too, like the car you use at Indy is a separate car. Like it's the same tub as the other cars, but like the team is like rubbing on that car and prepping it and making sure everything's right for like months before the race.
Right.
So that when you basically like, you know, it was motor, gearbox, all the suspension, wings, under tray, all got changed, right? So it was a more or less a brand new car. Like it just, you don't have the time to tune on it to get it back in the window. And, you know, they did a great job of getting that car close because we were able to at least get through the race. Like Colton had a similar experience. He went upside down and crashed.
Right.
And had to, you know, new engine and all that. And like they parked him halfway through the race because they
So bad.
put the car back together, but it wasn't quite right. And it was like, Indy's one of those places where if the car's out of the window and it's sketchy, like
There's no point.
you cannot hang on.
You're right.
Especially when it's super loose.
Right. Yeah, you're just gonna. Yeah, there's no point.